People act like addiction is a good time. Like it's all wild, fun, reckless, and free. But if you've ever actually sat across from someone in the middle of addiction or lived through it yourself, you know there's nothing fun about it. There's desperation in those eyes. There's exhaustion in every breath. Addiction isn't pleasure, it's survival gone off the rails. It's self-medication that went too far. It's someone who wanted relief and ended up losing everything trying to keep that feeling alive. People love to say things like, you take one hit of crack and you're hooked. And while that makes for a dramatic story, it's not how most addiction usually happens. For most people, it's gradual. It starts with emotional pain, maybe even as a teenager, trauma, anxiety, depression, grief, loneliness. It starts with something that makes life feel unbearable and makes them want to feel differently. Then you find something, a drink, a pill, a high that finally makes it bearable. You don't think, this is going to ruin my life. You think, finally, I can breathe. But over time, the thing that gives you relief becomes the very thing that controls you. Your brain adapts. Your tolerance grows. Your sense of self begins to shrink. And before you know it, what started as self-medication or fun or comfort or whatever it started as becomes captivity. Most people don't become addicted after one use. That is a myth, and studies have shown that it takes consistent exposure for the brain's reward system to rewire. For example, research from the National Institute of Drug Abuse shows that while drugs like nicotine, opioids, and methamphetamine have rapid reinforcement potential, environmental stress and trauma are the stronger predictors of long-term addiction, not just chemical exposure. So in translation, the drug isn't the whole story. The pain underneath it is. There's this lie built into addiction, which is the illusion of control. It starts out feeling like freedom, like you've escaped the rules, the pressure, the pain. But every action has a reaction, and freedom that depends on a substance isn't freedom. It's a leash that gets tighter every day. According to the CDC, more than 46 million Americans meet criteria for a substance use disorder each year, but only about 6% ever receive treatment. That gap isn't caused by lack of willpower. It's caused by lack of access, stigma, and systems that criminalize instead of treat or care. The irony is that most people using don't even want to be high all the time. They just don't want to feel empty or bad. And when you've been living in survival mode for years, that's not a sin. That's just human. We keep arguing, is addiction a disease or a choice? But the truth is, it doesn't really matter, because either way, it's a community health issue. Addiction doesn't grow in healthy, supported environments. It grows in pain, in untreated trauma, no matter what that might look like from the outside. And it also happens in poverty and in homes where kids learn that no one's coming to help. Addiction doesn't exist in isolation. People living below the poverty line are twice as likely to develop substance-related disorders. Those with childhood trauma, or ACE, which is adverse childhood experience, scores of 4 or more are up to 7 times more likely to develop addiction in adulthood. We wouldn't hate a child for surviving trauma, but we often turn that same child, grown up now and using, into a villain. We wouldn't look at a child living in a broken home and say, that's your fault. We wouldn't look at a child in poverty and hate them for their situation, but when that same child grows up broken and using, somehow we lose every ounce of compassion we had. That's not justice. That's hypocrisy. Addiction changes the brain, not metaphorically, but physically. The reward pathways get hijacked. Dopamine, GABA, serotonin, the whole system rewires itself to prioritize the substance above everything else. Because you stop feeling normal without it. You stop caring about things that used to matter so much to you. And worst of all, you start believing you're the problem instead of realizing your brain is trapped in a chemical loop that it can't break alone. Imaging studies show chronic drug use can reduce dopamine receptor availability by up to 50%, leaving people unable to feel pleasure from normal activities. That's why recovery isn't just about stopping, it's about retraining the brain to feel alive again. Addiction is not a lack of morals. It's a hijacked nervous system. That's why just stop doesn't work. Because it's not just willpower. It's biology, trauma, and survival all tangled together. When I think of addiction, I don't think of junkies or druggies. I think of people. People who laugh with their kids, love their families, grieve and regret. People who make mistakes. People who were once somebody's baby and somebody's child. Most addicts are unhappy people trying to feel differently. Trying to quiet something inside that's too loud to live with. They're not looking for chaos. They're looking for peace. Oddly enough, most people with substance use disorders started using before age 18. That means a lot of adults still battling addiction today were just kids when it began. Kids who never got the help they needed or deserved. And if we actually want to help and not just, we have to start by seeing them as human, leveling a little bit, because no one ever hated their way into recovery. Recovery isn't just about stopping the substance. It's about rebuilding a life that doesn't require escaping from it or the feeling of wanting to. It's about safety, stability, connection, and dignity. For some, that means therapy. For others, it's medication, community, spirituality, or 12 steps. There's no single path. Everyone has their own journey. We just have a shared goal, which is freedom that doesn't come in a bottle or a syringe. Research from the CDC shows that 3 out of 4 people who experience addiction eventually recover. Recovery is real. It's not rare. But it requires connection, treatment access, and compassion, not punishment or judgment. Recovery is possible, but only when the world around you believes you're worth recovering. Addiction doesn't just belong to the person using. It belongs to the community that failed to catch them as well. It belongs to the generations of trauma that went untreated before them. And it belongs to the systems that make getting high easier than getting help. Substance use costs the U.S. more than $600 billion per year in healthcare, crime, and lost productivity. But studies show every $1 spent on treatment saves $4 to $7 in societal cost. Compassion isn't just the right thing to do, it's also the financially smart thing to do. So yes, let's treat addiction as a disease, if that helps. But let's never forget it's also a mirror, a reflection of what happens when we stop caring about each other. We don't fix that with punishment. We fix it with compassion, with resources, with second chances, with the understanding that pain doesn't make people bad. It makes them human. If you're listening and you're in it right now, I see you. You're not weak. You're not hopeless. You are someone who's been trying to survive the only way you knew how for a long time. But you deserve better than survival. You deserve peace. And no matter how far gone you think you are, there is always a way back. Because recovery isn't about becoming who you used to be. It's about becoming someone you never had the chance to be before. Leave your comments below. See you next time.